Do you ever feel overwhelmed by the ever-changing world of technology? Tech It Out can help make some sense of it all. Breaking down geek speak into street speak, technology columnist, author, and TV personality Mark Saltzman covers consumer technology each week for every listener. Mark tackles the latest news, reviews, and how-tos to help you understand what's hot, what's not, and why.
Hey everyone, welcome to Tech It Out, episode 400. Oh, wow. Thank you. All right, I know, that was cheesy. But hey, Tech It Out is not recorded in front of a studio audience, and so I gotta do what I gotta do. But yes, this is officially the 400th episode of the weekly 1-hour show that breaks down geek speak into street speak. Tech It Out started in July of 2017, 8 years ago already, and so I'm very thankful to the listeners, to the guests that we've had, usually 3 or 4 per show, the sponsors like Visa and SanDisk, and to Radio America for syndicating this show, managing the podcast version as well, which you may be listening to right now, and airing the daily 1-minute Tech It Out interstitial across the country. It's a tech update that airs on more than 430 talk radio stations a day, plus Sirius XM and its Radio Classics channel. I love when I catch that when I'm in the car. Again, most of all, thank you to the listeners for supporting me and this show, allowing it to reach episode 400. To celebrate and commemorate the milestone, you may have heard me tease a giveaway over the past couple of weeks, or maybe you saw my video on social media. But Asus, one of the leading laptop companies on the planet, has generously donated a giveaway. It's a 15.6-inch Chromebook laptop, the Asus X15, powered by a snappy Intel Celeron N4500 processor, 4 gigs of RAM, and 128 gigs of storage. This sleek laptop includes a 3-month Google One AI premium plan and 3 months of ad-free YouTube Premium. To be eligible to win this laptop, you need to be a U.S. resident, in the continental U.S., that is, age 18 or older, and all you have to do is send me an email from my website with the words Tech It Out, or tag me on any social media platform with the hashtag Tech It Out. A random name will be chosen next week to win the Asus X15 laptop. I'll announce the winner on the next episode of Tech It Out, episode 401. For my email, my website is marksaltzman.com. That's Mark with the C and Saltzman with the Z. Or again, on any of your favorite social media platforms, X or Threads, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Blue Sky, just use the hashtag #TechItOut and tag me, and you'll be eligible to win. Good luck, and thank you for tuning in to Tech It Out. All right, we do have a great show for you planned today. We're going to kick off the show about Wi-Fi in the home, what to look for in your next router or mesh system, and what that means. We'll have NETGEAR on in about 60 seconds from now. We'll also talk with JD Power this hour about which banking and credit card app is the best and why. And finally, the east coast of Canada, Newfoundland and Labrador, they get countless tourists from around the world every year, many of whom come in the summer to go whale watching. And there's now a fun high-tech twist to it involving your smartphone camera and AI. It's called Hello Humpback. And we're going to learn all about that later on in this show, this 400th episode, no less. All of this and more on an all-new Tech It Out, powered by Visa. Securing the world's payments is priority one. I'll tell you more about Visa's anti-fraud efforts shortly, but let's officially kick off the new show with our first interview. Reliable and fast Wi-Fi is critical at home today because it's the backbone to your experiences, like entertainment, right? We're streaming TV shows and music and downloading games to your console or PC. It's also used for productivity, especially for those who work at home, even partially, or students doing homework. And Wi-Fi is also needed for accessing smart home gear, like video doorbells, security cameras, smart lights, and so much more. Don't believe me? Just ask your Alexa, Google, or Siri smart speaker, which also needs Wi-Fi to work. To talk with us about what's new in Wi-Fi, we're joined by NETGEAR. On the line, we've got Sandeep Harpalani. He's VP of Product Management at NETGEAR. Welcome back to the show, Sandeep. Good to chat with you again.
Thank you, and glad to be back here, Mark, and talk to you one more time about Wi-Fi, my favorite subject.
I'm sure. Let's start there, actually. Let's talk about the importance of good Wi-Fi at home.
Yeah, so I think, as you mentioned, Wi-Fi is actually a basic necessity for us today. It really drives everything that we do, from work, entertainment, our social connections. A lot of the devices that you have inside, most likely the next appliance that you will buy will have some kind of an internet connectivity. I haven't come across anybody who has said that he will have less number of connected devices next year as what they have today.
So we're on the same page about the importance of Wi-Fi. And sure, there are still wired devices. There are still a couple of, smart TVs and laptops that have an Ethernet connection. But we love the convenience of not being tethered to the wall, right? We can even take our, laptop or tablet outside, especially this time of year. You want to download an ebook to your reader on a porch or a backyard deck. Wi-Fi allows you to do that as well. So tell us a bit about NETGEAR. This company's been around for a while. What is it, almost 30 years now?
That is correct. We are actually founded in 1996 and were the first company that was focused on consumer networking. And we continue to be very focused on that market and true to our mission of providing innovative solutions for connectivity to power extraordinary experiences. And we have a full suite of networking products, from your Wi-Fi routers, mesh solutions, we'll talk more about it, range extenders, adapters, power line, anything that you would need in your home to connect devices, most likely will have an option for that.
And so what separates NETGEAR, would you say, from other networking companies out there? I know there are a few.
I think one of the key things that separates us from others is really our experience in terms of building Wi-Fi products that are reliable, secure, and high performance, and provide you whole home coverage. There's a lot that goes into building a Wi-Fi product that provides you the best performance and range. We basically spend a lot of time in terms of designing these products. Wi-Fi is extremely sensitive to any kind of interference, so there's a lot that goes into making sure that you're getting the best range and performance. And we are really building a product without understanding the customer home environment. He might be living in a ranch-style home, or it might have a multi-storied. There might be different type of materials that are used in terms of bricks and so on, which have different level of Wi-Fi ability to go through that. So there's a lot that goes into developing these products to make sure that it works reliably and gives you the best performance for your home. NETGEAR has been a pioneer in terms of providing new solutions. We were the first to build the first tri-band, the quad-band Wi-Fi routers. We were the first to do the first range extenders. So we've done really looked at the market, understand the market, and provide the best performance solutions to this to make sure that our customers are able to enjoy and power those extraordinary experiences that they're looking for.
And it's not just hardware, right, Sandeep? There's also the software part, which is critical, including cybersecurity software, which I understand that NETGEAR provides. Can you tell us a bit about Armor?
Yeah, so this is, again, as I spoke about understanding of the customers, as you have more and more connected devices, customers are concerned about security. Now you have your front lock, which might be having a Bluetooth connection, a Wi-Fi connection. So you want to make sure that your home is secure. In earlier times, you could basically have an antivirus running on your laptop or PC, and you're basically covered. But now you have these IoT devices, which you cannot run any kind of a software on those, any kind of a security software on those. So you need something that is running on the Wi-Fi router. Think of it like a lock on your front door. That's how it's the most basic security requirements. So as we have seen these requirements change, we have basically developed this Armor solution, which is to protect all the devices in your home network, where we have partnered with Bitdefender, a leading security company, to have a solution so that everything that's behind your home network is secured. You don't need to run specifically software on every device that is in the home.
IoT, of course, is an acronym for Internet of Things. These are the millions of devices out there that all can talk to one another. And that includes those smart home devices in your home that I alluded to off the top, like security cameras and video doorbells, even things you wear, like a smartwatch, a smart ring. We're all connected, and they need to be secure at every access point to the internet. So thank you for that, Sandeep. We are chatting with Sandeep Harpalani. He is Vice President of Product Management at NETGEAR, a leading networking company. Why don't we now now pivot and chat about the latest wireless standard called Wi-Fi 7. Is it time to upgrade to this?
Yes, so Wi-Fi 7 is the latest Wi-Fi standard that is there, has been there for a couple of years now. I think the last time we spoke was about 2 years ago on Wi-Fi 7. There are some significant improvements with the new Wi-Fi standard. Number one is, of course, the speed improvements. It gives you about a 4x speed improvement as compared to the last Wi-Fi 6 standard.
Wow.
But more important than that is improvements in terms of the robustness of Wi-Fi, reduction in terms of latency. So things like if you're playing a gaming application or if you want a more secure connection, your people are using it for work, they have Zoom calls and so on, video streaming, all these applications will benefit with Wi-Fi 7.
All right, so it's for faster speeds and lower latency, which is related, supporting more devices at the same time, and other benefits, security, as you mentioned. So when we return, I'm going to ask how you know when it's time to upgrade. What if things seem to be working just fine as you're streaming content, or you haven't had any security scares, and while you're adding more devices, you're not seeing any noticeable slowdowns in performance? So when we return on Tech It Out, I'm going to ask Sandeep from NETGEAR to answer that. I'm also going to ask him what models or what brands to look for. I think it's called Orbi, which is part of the NETGEAR family. So stick with us. More Tech It Out coming right up after this short break.
Listen to Tech It Out whenever you want. Find the Tech It Out podcast at iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to Tech It Out, the 400th episode of the show. We have a big giveaway. It's an Asus laptop. I'll tell you more about how to enter to be eligible to win in a couple of minutes from now. But first, we're going to continue chatting with Sandeep Harpalani. He's VP of Product Management at NETGEAR, a leading networking company. They're best known for their routers and wireless extenders and mesh systems, which we'll get to. Now, before the break, Sandeep, I was asking, how do you know when it's time to upgrade your router? Like, let's say we've got listeners right now thinking, well, I'm perfectly content with my existing router. Maybe it's Wi-Fi 6 or 6E, one of these slightly older standards. How do you know? Is it because things just don't work as smoothly? You're watching, a show on Netflix and it's buffering. You're seeing that little symbol in the middle of the TV that says wait kind of thing. Maybe you don't realize that from a security standpoint that your data is at risk when it is.
Yeah, there are actually a lot of factors here. One, of course, is, as you mentioned, the buffering part of it. If your router is 3 to 4 years old, most likely you're at least maybe 2 generations behind in terms of Wi-Fi. A lot of things have improved in terms of speed, in terms of connectivity, in terms of security, and it makes sense for, as if you're using this Wi-Fi as you most likely you are, people don't think about it like, how many more connected devices have you added in the last 3 to 4 years?
Right, probably a lot.
How much has your internet speeds increased in the last couple of years? How many more subscriptions do you have for your video streaming or gaming? How much more usage you have because you're now doing work from home, you're doing Zoom calls, you're doing your work calls and so on. So all of those things need to be taken into consideration. And I think one of the best ways that I recommend is for people to run the speed test near the router, and then maybe run the same speed test in other areas of the home. Maybe you're now want to work in the backyard, as you mentioned, or you have a new electric car that needs to be upgraded and that requires a connection, or you have IP cameras that are all around the home. Now your usage has changed, and it will be making sense to maybe run that same speed test at those areas and see, are you getting similar speeds or not? So if you're paying for a gigabit of internet, and at that farthest corner, if you're only getting 100 megabits or even 10 megabits and so on, effectively, you're not using maybe 99% of the bandwidth that you're paying for.
Right. Great point. And if people want to activate a speed test, it's very easy. Just go in your web browser and do a search for speed test, and you'll find different ones available. Like Ookla is a popular one, OOKLA. It'll show you the download speeds and compare that to what you're paying for and what you're supposed to be getting. It's a great point, Sandeep. Before we talk NETGEAR solutions, some actual product names that we may want to take note of, tell us a bit about mesh. I know it's not new, but for those in a larger home or maybe an older home with, say, concrete walls, a mesh system may be ideal. Multi-room solution.
That is correct. So one of the fundamental issues that mesh solves is of coverage. This is again laws of physics. As you move away from a Wi-Fi router, your speed goes down. That's where the mesh system comes in. It's multiple units. So it could be 2 units, it could be 3 units. You take the main Wi-Fi router, connect it to wherever you're getting your internet connection, and then you have satellites or nodes, as you call it, in terms of that can be spread throughout the home.
Those little pucks that you plug in the wall.
Yes, and then it doesn't require any wired connection or anything. It's all connected through Wi-Fi, and you have the same Wi-Fi network name throughout. So as you move around in your home, maybe as you're doing a call, a Zoom call, you don't see any kind of a disconnections. You're basically getting the similar level of performance that you're getting on one end of the house to another end of the house. And that's where our products come in, Orbi comes in specifically. I think our differentiation here is for these mesh systems is not only do we provide that increased range, we try to get you a similar kind of internet speeds that you're getting at where your router is to where your satellites is.
Could you tell us just for a minute or so what some of the NETGEAR brand names we should look for or model numbers we should be looking for?
So for our mesh products, and that's the Orbi range of mesh solutions.
Right, so that's ORBI.
ORBI, that is correct. We have a whole range of Wi-Fi 7 Orbi mesh products. The best in class is the Orbi 970, which is a quad band, has a dedicated backhaul. And again, just the benefit of the dedicated backhaul is that you basically have dedicated Wi-Fi connection between the router and the satellite. So as you're adding more and more devices, if somebody starts downloading a big file, it doesn't impact the connectivity to the other devices because you have almost like a dedicated Wi-Fi connection or highway connection between the router and the satellite, and that gives you the best performance.
And the satellites are those nodes or pucks or access points that we spread out throughout the home.
That is correct.
All right, so NETGEAR is the company, Orbi is the brand that I think a lot of our listeners would want to make note of. That's ORBI. There's mesh systems, there's routers, there's something for different applications. If you're a hardcore gamer, you're going to want a higher end, a faster solution, but there's no shortage of them. Is the best website simply netgear.com to get going, or would you recommend a particular retailer?
No, netgear.com is a great place to start. Basically, you can look at our mesh products. You can look at our standalone routers, which is the Nighthawk, NIGHTHAWK. And we have a whole full range of customers who are looking for a standalone router. So you have all those options, the range extenders, adapters, all kind of connectivity solutions to make sure that you're getting the best Wi-Fi throughout your home.
Awesome. I think we talked about Nighthawk the last time you were on the show. Sandeep, thank you so much for carving out some time to chat with us once again. Again, Sandeep Harpalani has been our guest from NETGEAR, netgear.com for more. I hope you have a wonderful summer. Thanks again.
Thank you, Mark.
Take note of how to enter to be eligible to win this Asus laptop to celebrate the 400th episode of Tech It Out. Send me an email with the words Tech It Out in the subject line, or tag me on social media and include the hashtag Tech It Out to be eligible to win. It's a 15.6-inch Asus X15 Chromebook laptop. My name is Mark Saltzman, Mark with a C. You'll find me on all the social media platforms, or email me at marksaltzman.com. You need to be a U.S. resident in the continental U.S., age 18 and older. Good luck. More Tech It Out coming right up after this.
Want to follow Mark? Google him. Mark with a C and Saltzman with a Z. Breaking down geek speak into street speak. This is Tech It Out. Tech It Out with technology columnist, author, and TV personality Mark Saltzman.
Welcome back to Tech It Out. We cover cybersecurity a lot on this program and how you can best protect yourself in the digital age, even if you're not super tech savvy. One part of the solution is securely shopping online. And so I'm thrilled about my partnership with Visa on Tech It Out, as they've made some significant investments in fraud prevention over the past 5 years, as much as $10 billion. Yes, that's billion with a B, to support Visa's brand promise to protect the financial information of individuals and businesses. Zero liability means peace of mind when you shop online using your Visa card. There can be no half measures when it comes to cybersecurity, which is why the company takes an aggressive and multi-layered approach to combating the rising threat of malicious software and other threats by well-funded and global criminal enterprises. Read more about Visa and how securing the world's payments is priority one at visa.com/security. That's visa.com/security. our world is becoming increasingly digital, if you haven't noticed. And that includes making payments and banking and other financial transactions with countless mobile apps and websites that I would argue deliver similar experiences across the board. Or do they? What are the consumer experiences like today? Well, on the heels of its latest study, we're joined by Sean Gellis, Senior Director of Payments Intelligence at JD Power, a global data and analytics company that specializes in consumer insights and market research. Welcome to the program, Sean. Good to chat with you.
Thanks a lot, Mark. Thanks for having me.
I made an assumption that a lot of these apps and websites look and feel the same, regardless of the financial institution you're trying to navigate through and to access your accounts. I'm not sure if that's accurate, so I'll just throw it to you. What did JD Power set out to find with this study?
So we were seeking to evaluate customer satisfaction with digital banking and credit card experiences across mobile apps and websites. The studies focused on how well these platforms are delivering on key aspects of the experience, such as navigation, speed, which includes performance in general, visual appeal, and how well they deliver the information and content that the customers are actually seeking. And our goal was to assess how effectively banks and credit card companies are meeting these rising customer expectations, and as you mentioned, in this increasingly digital-first world.
And so then what were the key findings, Sean?
So in the US, we see that Bank of America came out on top for national banking apps. Capital One is leading for national banking online experiences. And then Fifth Third and Regions Bank topped regional banking apps and online categories respectively. American Express came out on top in credit card app and credit card online. Again, here we see, as you mentioned, there's a lot of consistency between experiences. The apps and websites are delivering strong experiences. There's been consistent improvement every year that we've done this study, but few are really standing out with really personalized or innovative features, right? There's a lot of sameness again. But again, as I mentioned, we are seeing improvements. There was some improvement with the national banking apps and credit card apps, but that's about it. We're hitting a plateau.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when it comes to core functionality, as you touched on earlier, you just want it to work. You want it to be easy to navigate, be fast, be accurate, be secure, I would think is also a top priority when it comes to your money. But unless you've got multiple banks, and I don't know what percentage of listeners, for example, use even competing banks and they open up different apps, you're kind of used to what you're used to, right? I mean, you're not going to maybe compare Capital One versus BOA, that kind of thing.
The point you raise about having multiple accounts is really important in the sense that you would have a consumer that's using one banking app and then comparing that to another banking app. But just as valid, and we've found this over the years that we've done these studies, is that it's really not about banking and financial services apps. When consumers open an app, when they open a banking app, when they open a credit card app, they're coming to that experience with in mind all of the other experiences that they have as a consumer in the market today. So there puts a lot of pressure on banks, right? And credit card and financial institutions in general. They're not just competing with each other, but when it comes to digital experiences, they've got to keep pace with the market in general for these kinds of experiences.
That's a great point. Whether it's Uber or Amazon or whatever food delivery app you use, or even games, we get used to certain conveniences and benefits to some user experiences over others that we may want to see more of in banking. And that leads me to my next question, Sean. We are chatting with Sean Gellis. He's Senior Director of Payments Intelligence at JD Power. I wanted to ask you about AI, which seems to be overhauling everything. All of our experiences are digital experiences. The same thing happening to banking and credit card apps and websites?
That's a really good question. It dovetails nicely with my last comment because a lot of customers now also have ChatGPT app, Gemini app, or they might have Copilot. And so they're used to being able to interact with fundamentally with
conversationally.
With a computer conversationally like it was a person. And we're not getting that from our banking apps right now. What we've seen is that there's less satisfaction with virtual assistants because of that, because customers are now thinking of a virtual assistant as a sort of a ChatGPT. They now expect a much more natural and human-like agent interacting with them, whether or not it's artificial, whether or not it's synthetic or it's computer generated. So I think that's really, in my view, I think that's the next frontier, because we've really kind of, as we mentioned before, we've kind of maxed out the experiences using the kind of existing technology.
One more question before I let you go, Sean. I mentioned security earlier, which to me is just table stakes for any financial apps or websites. How are banking and credit card customers embracing added levels of security when it could impact the convenience factor? Like, for example, two-factor or multi-factor authentication is when you not only need your password to log in, but you often get a code sent to your phone to also type in to prove it's really you. That's an extra layer that some people roll their eyes at because it's just not convenient when you want to access your information, like your banking accounts or your credit card statements. But at what cost, right? Do you think we are, as consumers, okay with at least one extra way to verify it's us? Maybe it's our face or our thumbprint?
What we're seeing is what started out as a roadblock experience or a kind of hassle has actually transitioned now into a satisfaction booster. We're seeing satisfaction actually higher amongst customers when they're using multi-factor authentication. It's actually 4 different studies, and you can find all of these at jdpower.com, or follow us on LinkedIn, where you can get great insights from these studies, as well as video and other great content.
Sean, thank you so much for your time. Once again, jdpower.com. Have a great summer.
Thanks a lot, Mark. You too.
How whale watching can go high tech when we return on Tech It Out.
Breaking down geek speak into street speak. Tech It Out, hosted by Mark Saltzman.
Welcome back to Tech It Out. Newfoundland and Labrador is known for whale watching, especially humpbacks, who tend to visit every year, mostly from May to September. And now there's a fun AI-enhanced way to enjoy the experience, during and after the whale sighting, in fact, as we'll hear now from Daryl Smith. He's Director of Marketing for Newfoundland and Labrador Tourism. Welcome to the show, Daryl. Good to chat with you.
Thank you very much, Mark. Nice to be here.
So, hey, before we talk about this new technology called Hello Humpback, please tell us a bit about your work with Newfoundland and Labrador Tourism.
Oh, no problem at all. I guess first thing I should say is it goes back quite a long time. So I actually was kind of born in the tourism industry. I worked on my mom and dad's boat tour operation in a small town just outside of St. John's. You may have heard of it, Dildo, Newfoundland. And
yep, made famous by Jimmy Fallon from The Tonight Show.
He was the guy that really put it out there quite a bit. But so that would have been in the 90s, in the early 90s. And so I worked on my dad's tour boat with him and really cut my teeth, as we say, in the tourism industry there. So having an opportunity to come and work with the Department of Tourism, Culture, Arts and Recreation as marketing director close to 3 years ago has been a bit of a dream job for me, and getting an opportunity to promote the province around the world has been amazing. So, whale watching is a big part of that. We also have, there's over 29,000 kilometers of coastline throughout the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. And much of that has been developed into coastal hiking trails, which is a little known fact about the province. So between the whales, the scenic coastal trails, the icebergs, the people, we certainly have lots to yell about out there.
The lighthouses as well, which I tend to visit when I'm out there. And I should clarify to our listeners who aren't familiar with the province, the most eastern province of Canada, Newfoundland and Labrador is one province. So when I say Newfoundland and Labrador is known for whale watching, that is grammatically correct. So I'm a journalist, so it doesn't feel right to say it. Speaking of tour boats, so whale watching, it is a popular tourist attraction. That's one of the things that visitors often ask to see because it's something they don't get a taste of at home.
It is indeed. Our numbers, our most recent visitation numbers survey showed that about 43% of people who come here, they watch whales while they're here. And out of those, about 27% take tour boats to do so. Right. So it is quite an activity that we've become well known for. Every year, well, you mentioned from May to September, May would be a little early on whales. I will be honest, but
Okay.
but this year we actually did have some whales around our coast in May, so it's a little earlier than usual. But there's been some stunning backdrops of icebergs behind the whales this time of year, which is pretty amazing. 8 to 10,000 humpback whales every year make their way here from the Caribbean.
So after you've kissed the cod and maybe try to drink some screech,
There you go.
that you're good to go to watch some whales. So let's now chat about Hello Humpback. What is it exactly, this technology?
Well, first of all, every whale tail, or fluke as you'll sometimes see it written as, is kind of like a human fingerprint. So every whale tail is unique. So the markings on the tail, the ridges, it all makes that whale identifiable. So there's an organization called Happy Whale that's been around for some time that has been mapping migration patterns of humpback whales throughout the world. And what we've done, HelloHumpback.com, is our platform. But it feeds into, or it is connected on the back end, I guess you could say, to Happy Whale's database of humpbacks. So when somebody takes a picture of a whale tail and uploads it to our website, that actually then dips into and does a search of, using image recognition, does a search of the Happy Whale database, and then reports back to the user to say, oh, you've seen, it looks like you've met Mark. Gee, I don't know how I picked that one out of thin air.
I better work on my diet if I'm being named after a whale.
So here's Mark. And Mark was last spotted in Silver Banks, Dominican Republic in March of 2022. Prior to that, he was in Grand Banks, Newfoundland and Labrador. It uses scientific data that's been harnessed, or that's been gathered by Happy Whale, to then feed into a custom generative AI model that our partners build that will actually then produce a story about that whale. And of course, this is all happening within seconds. So
yeah, it's so cool. That sounds
really
great.
Is. It really is.
And I think it's a great way of engaging with younger, more digitally savvy audiences, I think, where as if seeing a whale up close was not fascinating enough, to learn that it's been named and it's when it was last tracked and seen geographically, and maybe some other backstory information about that whale is really cool to bridge the physical with the virtual. You know what I mean?
Right. And from a conservation standpoint, one of the things that our friends at Happy Whale like to say is, when you can make an emotional connection between people and nature, it certainly goes a long way in terms of environmental stewardship and conservation. And even though sometimes the tendency may be to think digital, maybe younger, more tech-savvy audiences, but it's really interesting that when we launched this, my 78-year-old mother was sending me pictures from her photo albums of whales that we had seen back in the 90s, and asking me to check to see what the story was on those. So that was pretty cool.
Cool indeed. More Tech It Out when we return right after this.
Follow Mark Saltzman on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Listen to Tech It Out whenever you want.
We are chatting with Daryl Smith. He's Director of Marketing for Newfoundland and Labrador Tourism. We're learning all about Hello Humpback. This is a platform, an AI platform, that encourages visitors who are whale watching to take photos of their tails as they're unique and upload them to this database. We'll get the website once again in a couple of moments, but we're learning all about the background of this platform and all the benefits surrounding it. Could you clarify if this is just for those who are visiting Newfoundland and Labrador, or can anybody access this database or take advantage of it, even if they're not able to travel to the province?
Anybody at all can access the database, can use the website, whether they're a visitor here to the province or if they're a resident that happens to be out whale watching. It's while it's a very popular activity for visitors, it's also quite a pastime for locals as well. So anybody at all, wherever they are in the world, and And interestingly enough, even if you happen to spot a whale that's not in Newfoundland and Labrador, and you want to upload it to Hello Humpback and see what that whale story is, we're happy to oblige.
Even if it's not a humpback, it would tell you?
At the moment, this one is only for humpback whales.
Okay.
But of course, humpbacks can migrate several places throughout the world. So if someone is in Greenland and decides to take a picture and upload it to Hello Humpback, we're happy to see that activity as well.
Before I let you go, how do we get going with Hello Humpback? Do you visit the website first, or you just encourage people, I guess, to get to the province, especially over the summer would be wonderful, and then you just take photos? You have to zoom in. Really, you have to be a good photographer. Anything that we need to know?
So 2 things. You most definitely do not need to be a good photographer, and I can promise you that one, because it's worked for me, and I'm certainly not a photographer. What I would say is, head on over to HelloHumpback.com. Take a look in there, find out a little bit more about about what you need to do. Head over to NewfoundlandLabrador.com as well, and find out all about our province. Happy to see folks coming here to visit. Come for the scenery and the nature, and to get away from the hustle and bustle. I think you'll leave with lots of memories of what you've seen and the people that you've experienced as well. So you'll be happy you did.
Yeah, no doubt. I can tell you, after visiting the province, both professionally and personally, it's a beautiful spot on the continent. Thank you so much for your time, Daryl. Again, the website, HelloHumpback.com, and you'll find out how to get going, and then bring your smartphone with you. Thank you so much for your time, Daryl. All the best. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for your interest.
Well, that is a topic that I have not yet covered on Tech It Out, so why not start on the 400th episode? And we do, just to remind you, have a great giveaway courtesy of Asus. It's a 15.6-inch Chromebook laptop. I'll remind you how you can enter to be eligible to win in a moment, but it's the Asus X15. It's a 15.6-inch Chromebook powered by an Intel Celeron N4500 processor, 4 gigabytes of RAM, and 128 gigs of storage. The laptop includes a 3-month Google One AI premium plan, so you can get more done in less time, and 3 months of ad-free YouTube premium. To be eligible to win, you need to be a U.S. resident, age 18 and older, and you can enter in one of 2 ways. Send me an email from my website with the words Tech It Out in the subject line. My website address is marksaltzman.com, marksaltzman.com, or better yet, say hi on social media, include the hashtag Tech It Out, one word, Tech It Out, and tag me on X, formerly Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, LinkedIn, TikTok, however you like. I'll look for it and enter your name to be eligible to win, so long as you are in the continental US and 18 and older. The random draw is going to take place on the 3rd of July, and the winner will be announced on episode 401 of Tech It Out, the next episode after that. So good luck to you. Tech It Out is both a weekly radio show that airs on over 100 talk radio stations and a podcast. Tech It Out is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Audible, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Spreaker, and a few other platforms, wherever finer podcasts are heard. Again, just do a search for the words Tech It Out, and you'll see my name, Mark Saltzman. Mark with a C, Saltzman with a Z. If you do listen to the podcast version, it's also easy to share it with a friend. You can leave me a review, whether it's a star review or a couple of words. A review goes a long way. There are literally millions of podcasts out there, so reviews go a long way, and thank you in advance for doing that. And finally, because it is the 400th episode and it's a milestone, going forward, looking ahead to the future of Tech It Out, if you've got any suggestions for me for upcoming guests or topics, let me know. If you've got tech questions for me that I can play on the show and then answer. So there you go, Tech It Out, celebrating its 400th episode. A huge thank you to Visa, the title sponsor on this program, as well as SanDisk. Both are incredible companies, and thank you for your ongoing support. Thank you to Radio America for syndicating the show. Have a great rest of your week, everyone, and I look forward to catching up with you next time for another episode of Tech It Out. Bye-bye for now.